Welcome to the Everyday Leader Podcast, where conversations inspire action, growth, and impact. Hosted by two passionate leaders, Shannon and Conrad, this podcast is for those who strive to lead with purpose and integrity in their life. Whether you're navigating big decisions, seeking balance, or dreaming of creating change, we're here to help explore the tools, stories, and insights that help everyday leaders thrive. Join us each episode as we dive into the art of leadership at work, at home, and in the world. Because leadership isn't a title, it's a way of being.
Hey, Shannon.
Hi.
How is your world today?
My world today is bright and sunny and warm here in North Carolina. And it feels that way. It feels that way. I feel bright and sunny and warm.
Nice.
We're going to talk about context. I mean, that gives you my context, a little bit of my context, which leads us into our topic for today, which is context and, what it is and why it's important when it comes to leadership and coaching.
Yes. So the question we are exploring, bottom line, what is context? And beside that, how is it relevant to relationships and to leadership?
And one reason that we wanted to talk about this, Conrad, and we kind of came to this together is because we use the word context all the time. And we know that context is, the situation or the background in which something exists or happens. And oftentimes that context will help explain, what is that situation or what happened? What is the thing that happened? And we like to give context often in order to have a really solid background, in order to have a really full understanding. We know that leadership happens in context, right? There's this backdrop, and we know that also problems happen in context, that there's a backdrop.
Yeah, and picking up on backdrop, it's like the stage is the backdrop for experiencing life, or it's the backdrop for a meeting has context or the backdrop. So I'm just thinking of the image of a stage, and there's the lights, and maybe there's some screens these days with images on it or curtains or those type things, and that is all setting the energy and the mood and the edges for what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is the whole space.
Yeah, it's the space that's good. So we know context is energetic, it's spatial, it's also, as you introed how your world is, it's about what's happening around you. It can be weather, right? It can be light, the literal light in the space. And in leadership, setting context is significant for the people that you're with, because it offers orientation or structure for what this team is up to or what this relationship is about.
Yeah, so I'm imagining a leader who's about to share some big changes for the organization or for the company. And sometimes we refer to what you just described as framing. But it is painting that picture of the context. And there's something that I think is this really important skill when it comes to communicating and sharing information and being really strategic in that as a leader, that has to do with being thoughtful about what pieces of the context you choose to share, right? Like not from a I'm not going to be transparent way. The idea being, if you're fully transparent as a leader, you're going to share everything that is, relevant to a particular group. But it is what pieces of this context are in service of X, whatever will be shared. I don't know if that lands exactly, but what you don't want is to stand up in front of a room full of people and share, information that's not really relevant, even though it might be like in the context, right? Might be part of the.
Yeah, like getting lost in too much context, I hear you saying, versus focusing on the outcome and why we're here together.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's the question of what's important about this.
Yes. What's important about this? Where are we? Where are we? What are we not going to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
Equally as important. And what is it that we want to move forward with together?
Mm-hmm. And who might actually have a piece of this context that I don't have? Like, what am I
Mm,
missing in terms of it? Right? Is there a piece of the context that I don't have that I need, like somebody else's experience, for example?
right. Right. Oh gosh, that's good. So it's about expanding together the context, or creating the context together.
Yes. Or is there a need to articulate the context, whether it be in the past or the present, in collaboration?
Mm. So Shannon, what do we know now about context?
Well, I think what's emerging here for me is that we actually know a lot about context. and there's a couple places where there are a couple points that I think I want to offer just to see what you
Hmm.
think. And one is that, because we have this belief, I definitely share this too with all of my clients, that leadership happens in context. What that means for me in my coaching or in conversations that I have with anybody about leadership is that it's not a vague conversation. It's not abstract, and it's not
Mm, not
generic.
theoretical.
It's not
Yeah.
theoretical, right?
Yeah.
It really is set in an actual context, and that's what makes leadership coaching, right? Otherwise, it's
Mm,
leadership training, where you train someone how to do something, and then you have no idea, or you have a little bit of an idea as to what their context is because you understand the learning objectives, but then they go back to their organization and they have to figure out how to incorporate it and integrate it into that context. Whereas leadership coaching, because the conversation happens with both the elements of building skill and capacity, and the element of what is the context in which this is going to be happening, or you're going to be practicing
mm,
this or experimenting with this particular skill, because those two things are actually sitting in the conversation together between coach and client. There is this automatic integration and
mm.
application and opportunity for experience that is very different than other modalities. So that's like the
Right. Right.
main thing for me when it comes
Yeah.
to context.
So context is situational,
Mm-hmm.
and this experiential, based on what the leader is, um, the culture that the leader is creating, or the leader is in, the relationship. So relationships are in context, problems are in a context, everything's in context. And if you try to contextually shift without understanding the let me there's something here. It's like, if you can't just take this and put it over there and have the same results.
Yeah, like a great example would be delegation, right?
Mm,
This is a key challenge that many of us have as leaders, is delegation. And so you and I can give 3 tips to delegation. And actually, oftentimes in these podcasts, that's what we're doing. We're sharing, right, these tools and these different
right.
different approaches, and then it's up to our listeners to put that into their own context and see what happens for them. And that's why we always ask, like, hey, tell us what happens. because
Yep.
we don't know if this is going to always work in all situations. So, as opposed to, so here are 3 tips for delegation, as opposed to someone having being able to say, well, give me an example. So, oftentimes we'll say, give me an example of the next time. Tell me, what's the next thing you need to delegate? What's on your list right now that you know you need to delegate? And then
Yep.
that becomes the focus of the conversation, right? Okay, so what's important about this thing that you need to delegate? What's making it hard? These are all contextual pieces. What if you tried in the past? Also contextual. And what is it that you want to shift? How do you want to feel? What is it that you want to create in terms of the next thing,
Yeah.
next context? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that you're speaking to also the power of story. So it's specific for that particular human, that leader, their because identity is also in
Mm-hmm.
context. Experiences shapes context. So it's what I appreciate about this is it's like giving the example specific for that particular human in their context versus sometimes leaders project their experiences or onto them to another and without understanding the full picture of that other human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I got out of I don't know. Oop, let's see. I don't think that context is that hard, is the other thing. I think it's a place to start and a place for leaders to really get clear on
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there. So it's just an orientation. I say it's just an orientation, and I think it's the first place to look.
Yeah, I agree with you too. It doesn't it it's almost like if it's feeling like it's too hard or too weedy or too muddy, then you are trying too hard.
Yeah.
So how do you get how what is it like for you to work with someone to name
Mm.
their context, whether it's, someone you're working with as a client or a friend, right? When friends are sharing their problems or their issues, it's like the backstory, right? It's like, how do you move from sharing, all of a sudden being the recipient of this huge long backstory to
Hmm.
being really being able to support somebody in landing and articulating the context that's important so that you can spend, instead of spending 90% of the time hearing the backstory and 10% actually talking about what's wrong and how to help,
Yeah.
having it be the opposite, like 10% context, 90% creating the new.
Yeah. So appreciate this question. It's one place after I've heard a backstory or a situation, I'll look to who I'm with and their relationship with that topic or that other person or the circumstance. So, is it a relationship of an internal um, part of them? Is it a relationship with
Mm.
someone else or a group of people? Is it a relationship with something bigger? So, so when I'm listening for in a story, it's always like, huh, okay, it sounds like you're talking about your relationship with this thing or this person, and that really can help set the orientation and context for what do you want to be in relationship with, or what is this really about?
Mm.
So that's one way. It's just that, if there's a story, backstory, and we all have our own version of this. Oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened today, Shannon. I got to tell you that, and I go off, and it's coming from a place of clearing, and I need to get it off my chest. And then you, as the listener, are contextually listening for what this is really about, what's significant about this. And I would invite me and all of us to, it's going to be a relationship with themselves, relationship with some other creature, a plant, a human, an animal, or, like a bigger system. It could be government, or it could be the organization, or societal
Yeah.
aspects. So I have a value around simple, so I try to simplify it to that for the sake of then having that orientation to move forward.
Yeah. Yes. What's the grounding question for you? What's the primary question for you?
Mm. Uh, Several come to mind. What is this really about? I
Hmm.
might ask that internally or even out loud. What is important here? I may ask that once again, internally or externally, or what's needing to be revealed here,
Hmm. Yeah.
or wanting to be revealed here. So those are some grounding as a leader, grounding questions that are in running in the background, and of course they can be audible as well. But it's really honing in on the core.
Hmm. Yeah.
What about
I
you? You got some a question or two or three or seven?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like this piece about this really about and what's important here. I also like being able to ask people, what are the three things
Mm,
in the background of this? What are the three things in
nice.
the background of this that that you think are having some kind of contribution to this or
Good.
are a part of
Yeah,
this, right?
good context setting. Awesome, right? You're looking at
Hmm.
what's around, or what's underneath this, or what's above this. So, kind of, I really appreciate you bringing that in. What are the three things, or what are the factors that are influencing this, even?
Yes. Because the story, the chronological story of like when we start telling a chronological story to get to the point of the point we're trying to make, right? Or the problem we're trying to share, or whatever it might be, it's this is the challenge. The challenge is to stop doing that as a
Mm,
leader or generally, right? And to start thinking about what pieces of this story, and sometimes the chronology is important, right? But what pieces of the story, what are sort of the highlights, or what are the key events within this story, or the key people in this story, right? The key
mm,
elements of anything relational in this story, people, place, things, perspectives that um, got me to where I am.
yeah,
And then what else isn't needed? The rest is not
yeah.
needed. Um, Yeah, so
Well,
it's something to play with, I think.
yes, and we invite. We'll continue to play with this. We invite you to play with context, create context, orient to context, be curious about context. And context is that backdrop for what it is that you are up to. What is that? What's the backstage look like? What are the supporting cast? What are the curtains and lights and those type things that are going to impact influence what you're up to.
Yeah. And remember that, on the stage, that is the context, is not the whole real life story. It's just the pieces that the audience needs to be able to see and hear and experience in order to be a part of whatever it is that you're up to.
Yes.
All right, let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it there. Leaving it there, and back together next week for, well, we don't know yet, for whatever everyday leaders may want to explore.